Everybody. It's the last session for our admitted student days. I appreciate so many of you sticking around for this long. A lot of Zoom events, a lot of hours spent virtually with us, but obviously really helpful to end things on, I think, a really positive note and an interactive note. This is going to be a really wonderful panel for you all to hear from some of our most involved students at Villanova, students who I've been able to get to know well here during my time. But students who really reflect the best of what Villanova has to offer. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves, and then I'm going to leave it in the hands of Kevin to help sort of moderate this panel. Kevin has some questions that he's going to go through with our panelists, but separate from that, they want to hear from you all, so please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit questions to our panelists. I think oftentimes it's more fun to be able to answer your questions personally, right, than to answer questions that we think you want to hear the answers to. So I'm going to pass it over to our panelists. I'll just call out your names, have you all introduce yourselves, name, class year, where you went to undergrad, your areas of interest in the law, and then maybe just shout out like a couple of the groups that you're involved with, because you're going to probably all still speak to those groups during your time on the panel today, but just sort of like a brief introduction of like maybe group names. Phoebe, if you want to start, we'll do Phoebe, Eddie, Ryan, Allie, and then end with Kevin, and then I'll leave it in Kevin's hands to take it from there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Phoebe. I'm a 2L. I grew up in England, so I went to undergrad for the first 2 years at the University of Nottingham. Then I transferred to Rider University in New Jersey. I am interested in private wealth management. It's a subsection of tax law. And I am a staff writer on the Sports Journal, and I am the vice chair of the Honour Board. I'm also just a general member of BALSA, which is our Black Law Students Association, and a very general member of the Corporate Law and Tax Society.
Hi, everyone. My name's Eddie Reilingh. I'm a 3L. I'm originally from Westchester County, New York, so just north of New York City. I went to Indiana University for undergrad. And the areas that I'm interested in, I'll actually be working in criminal law this fall in a state court clerkship. And I'm also interested in general litigation and also appellant work. Organizations I'm involved with is Moot Court, and I'm also part of the Public Interest Fellowship Program for students, as well as the 3L representative for Outlaw, which is the LGBTQ student organization. And yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allie. I am originally from Vermont. I am in my last year, so we are on the verge of graduation now. I am primarily focused on litigation and the way in which technology affects the legal practice. Upon graduation, I'm going to be working at a litigation firm focusing primarily on fraud. And the organizations I'm a part of are primarily, a lot of my time goes to Moot Court and the Emerging Technology Legal Society.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm a 2L along with Phoebe. I am currently the president of the, I guess talk about where I'm from. I'm from South Jersey, currently there right now. I am, I went to undergrad at Vanderbilt University down in Nashville, Tennessee. Came back up here, worked for 2 years as a paralegal at a very small plaintiff side securities firm in Conshohocken. Then, came to law school, and I'm interested in entertainment law. I'm the president of the Entertainment and Media Law Society. I'm also a staff writer on the Law Review, and I've participated in a lot of other clubs functions, but not technically a member of anything else. Very much looking forward to all your questions today, and thank you all for coming.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Andino. I want to apologize for my appearance as there were some technical difficulties coming in. But I'm a 1L here at Villanova. I'm not sure the prompt, but I think I picked it up. I'm originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I worked 2 years prior to law school And in regards to interest, I at the moment am interested in more business corporate work, but I also want to touch my hands into technology, cybersecurity, and copyright work as well. In regards to organizations I'm part of, I am the 1L rep for the Latin American Law Student Association. I also participate heavily in the Black Law Student Association. I'm currently the research assistant for the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office. I'm also part of the First Generation Law Society, and I participate in other organizations by just attending, like Brian stated, but those are some areas of interest.
And I am Kevin Sheppard II. I am a JD MBA student here at Villanova Law, and Villanova School of Business. I'm at 3L, so I graduate this coming May. I'm counting down the weeks swiftly and as much as possible. I worked as a paralegal for about 8 years before law school, mostly in securities regulations and private equity. And I graduated from Howard University in DC in 2011. As far as current professional interest and, what I'm looking to do post-grad, I'm looking to go back to a firm and or work for an investment manager directly in-house, working with investments and, different family offices. I don't know if we did fun facts, so I'll just skip that one, but yeah. And I guess we'll just transition, directly into, my role as SBA. So I'm also president of SBA. I'm not sure if I said that or not. But as far as the mission of the Student Bar Association, it's really to kind of facilitate the needs and issues concerning students and act as a liaison between the student body as well as the deans and administration. So we meet with the deans about once a month. We meet more if needed, but about once a month we meet with the deans and we relay any concerns students have, any issues with, course scheduling or, struggles or concerns with professors, or even something as small as the temperature in the school is too cold or too hot. We kind of relay as much as we can to the administration so they get an accurate pulse of what's going on in the school and, kind of how to take the best steps moving forward. As far as, hearing these student voices, we actually hosted our second ever town hall yesterday in the common area of the law school, which is really great. Humble brag. I enjoyed hearing from the students and hearing, what was going on and different concerns that were coming up. I often felt like, even when I was a 1L, the Student Bar Association felt a little too much removed from the student body. So we weren't really sure what to communicate or how to communicate it, and whether our concerns were even, heard. So something I want to leave behind before I graduate is to make sure that people know the Student Bar Association is accessible. As members of Villanova Law, you are automatically a member of the Student Bar Association. We are just the members of the board and members of the executive committee voted into office. So just allowing the fact that students have access to us and that we actually do hear what's going on is very crucial and very important. As far as making sure that Villanova is a better place than when I first found it. So I think, one other thing we do have as SBA, we have a mentorship program. So current students, when you come into the law school, you will get an SBA mentor as well as mentors and a lot of other student groups, which is great. So, before you know it, you have about 5 or 6 mentors to really kind of help you and assist you along your journey. Phoebe's smiling because she's my mentee, even though she hates me sometimes. It was, and I think you're Ashley's mentor, right? Yeah, so like I said, it overlaps a lot. You have a lot of mentors and mentees throughout the school, which is really great, especially when you first come in. I'm not sure if you have lawyers in your family, or if you're familiar with how law school works, but just having that access to resources is really great and really important. And, I'm glad to see it continue and hope that it gets better each year. And one last point about the Student Bar Association, these are talking points, so I promise I'm just talking about myself for no reason. Some of the events we normally have throughout the school year are Red Mass. We have a Halloween event, and we also have Barristers Ball at the end of the year. So Red Mass is put on by the who actually does put on Red Mass? We do
Pro Bono.
Pro Bono. I was going to say public interest, but I couldn't get it out. Thank you. That's another event, which is this weekend. So Pro Bono Society puts on Red Mass. Red Mass is like the annual celebration of the beginning of the legal term. So you can go to math on campus. You don't have to go to math if you don't want to. But there is a reception and networking event at the law school held afterwards. And then there's an after party after Red Mass to kind of socialize and get to know your fellow classmates a little better. And then we also have a Halloween party, which we have every year. I like to think it's pretty successful, but you know, it's a great time to get out in the city and just experience another time out with your classmates and your friends, and not be in the library or in the school studying or anything. So, and then one final event, which is pretty big, is our Barristers event. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Barristers Ball or not, but it's basically law school prom. It's held every spring semester. The dates vary, but this one will be held May 12th. And again, it's like a law school prom for all the students. Everyone gets together, you celebrate the end of the school term, and you kind of just socialize, network, have fun, dance, eat, all that good stuff. And this is a great time to kind of end off the school year and start the summer. But yeah, that's enough about me. I'm done talking about SBA, unless you have questions. But we'll kind of pivot now toward journals. So this is a question just to the panelists. If you could please describe the significance of the journals and certain topics or kinds of topics that have recently been published.
Ryan, do you want to go first or second?
Sure, I'll start. So I'm a member of the Law Review right now. I'm a staff writer. So the way that the journals work essentially is that there are 3 journals currently at the law school. There's the Law Review, the Environmental Law Journal, and the Jeffrey Murad Sports Law Journal, Sports and Entertainment Law, I believe. And essentially it's not something that you really have to worry about during 1L year when you get there, but during 2L you have the opportunity to get involved in a number of scholastic organizations, from moot court, trial team, to, you know, the journals, you know, people that like to speak more and, you know, might be interested more in moot court, and people who like to spend their lives in the library, like me, might be more interested in the Law Review. So what they do is, and the 2Ls are the staff writers. They're the ones that generate the student written scholarship for the Law Review. You have pretty much the entirety of your first semester to develop a topic, to research that topic, to write a very in-depth legal analysis of either a case or a comment on the state of the law. And then it's put before a selection committee, and the best pieces are published. So some of the more recent publications, I believe there was one reevaluating the state of law regarding battered women's syndrome, and, you know, self-defense arguments. There was one on the delegation clause, which authorizes the investigation, and administrative tribunals of the SEC versus, a case brought in district court. There's all sorts of topics that are explored. It's really up to you on the Law Review. It is a very rigorous process. I will say that it took up a significant amount of my time, my 2L year, writing. So I think it's a very excellent experience in, time management. It's an excellent experience in research, but it's definitely not something that I think you can do kind of halfway. You have to do all of it or none of it. And I've really enjoyed my time there. I've gotten to know a good amount of people on the editing board. I've gotten to know my editor. I've really enjoyed kind of the academic back and forth of it, and the Law Review also puts on a couple events. They host things from the MLK celebration every year. They co-sponsor that with a couple of professors, where they talk about Dr. King's legacy and what it means to the legal community going forward. There's the Law Review Symposium every year, which is hosted by the Law Review, where scholars on a specific topic will come and kind of, in a way, debate and discuss the recent scholarship and developments in the law. This year was on military justice, which was very interesting because it's something that I had no exposure to. But I kind of learned a lot during the experience there. And the other journals cover different topics. And I want to kick it to Phoebe, who's also a member on a journal that is not the Law Review. So Phoebe?
Yeah, so I'm on the sports journal. Had you asked me last week if I like being on journal, I would have said I hated every minute because it was our deadline. We had our deadline for our comment on Sunday. So Sports Journal is a little different to Law Review. All the journals are run independently. So we publish 2 case notes or comments every year. So you basically write your first case note or comment the first semester. If your comment's not published or case note isn't published or selected for publication, you get the chance to either work on your first piece, or you can pick a completely new topic. I can't talk about my topic because we are still publication decisions come out on Sunday, so I can't talk about my topic, but basically anything sports related, which for me, I know nothing about American sports, which everyone found out when I was asking about the Super Bowl and the Phillies' apparent glory run with the baseball. I was sat next to Ryan in FedTax, and he had to update me every weekend about, what it meant to be 9-0 or whatever it was. So yeah, I know nothing about sports, but you suddenly learn very quickly. And I mean, like Ryan said, it's so much work, and at times you hate it, at times you love it. There is an enormous sense of achievement when you finally finish your work and you submit it for publication. And it gives you these great skills that really translate into different classes. And I hate Westlaw and Lexis now. I will never ever log on to Lexis ever again, but that's fine because I want to do transactional work. And yeah, it's really great. Employers really do love to see journal experience. When I started my summer job, I was the write-on competition that you have to go through to get onto a journal. It was like it overlapped the first week of my summer job. And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't really want to do journal. I hate everything to do with writing. And everyone was like, yeah, Phoebe, you kind of have to, if you kind of have to do journal or moot court or trial team. It's just one of those things that employers look for. And, I was being a little cocky, and I was like, well, I kind of have my job already. Well, let me tell you, I was humbled very quickly. So yes, I would really recommend doing journal. And again, like I said, and like Ryan said, so you can either write a case note, you can write a comment. A case note, I actually never wrote a case note because I hate anything Lexis and Westlaw, but a case note is like a really detailed look at one specific case. I think, Ryan, did you write a case note?
I did write a case note.
Okay, I'll let Ryan describe that. And so I wrote a comment. So I wrote 2 comments, and so my first comment was on protecting First Amendment speech in sporting arenas. So I basically talked about how Olympic organizations, NFL, NHL should allow athletes the ability to allow their athletes and players to, protest on the pitch and protest in public arenas, things like that. It was just there's a lot more freedom with a case note than with a comment than a case note. You're allowed to kind of interject more of your own opinion and analysis. So it was really fun. My comment this semester was a lot more fun. I wrote about the World Cup. There's no one here on the selection committee, I just realized. I wrote about immigration and the 2026 World Cup. I actually had to go back through when I was editing, and I kept calling it football because that's actually what it's called. And everyone was like, Phoebe, it's soccer, it's soccer. I was like, well, hell, guess what? It's football. So that was a whole argument. But yeah, a comment's a really good way to just take a broad topic like immigration, something that I just dread being an international student, and then link it to the sporting world. So it was very fun.
Yeah, just really quick to sum up about what a case note is you pick a specific new case that is gone through usually one of the courts of appeals. There's not a whole lot of case notes written on district court decisions. And you kind of talk about how the court came to the decision, give a background about the law, and provide some sort of critical analysis about how the court came to their conclusion and maybe write a little bit about an impact that the decision will have on the state of the law. Another thing I wanted to add to Phoebe's comment about how employers really like it. I will absolutely endorse that comment. I think that it's very important, especially if you want to go to some of the bigger firms. Like they love moot court. They love the journals. They love seeing that on your resume. It shows that, you're willing to dedicate your time to something more and advancing yourself. But another group of specific employers that really love these kind of things are judges. If you're looking to clerk after law school, if you're looking to get judicial internships, admission to the journals, or moot court, or any of these kind of extracurricular academic groups, will really, really help you in your application. So I would whatever kind of person you are that pushes you towards. I know that Eddie and Allie will definitely speak a lot more about what moot court is, but whatever it is, I would highly recommend going out and pursuing one of those avenues.
And also, don't be discouraged. Last thing, don't be discouraged when people say at schools, it's all dependent on grades. Definitely put yourself out there, especially for law review, especially for both the other journals. They really judge you on your quality of your writing rather than look at other schools, look at grades. And don't listen to any, again, this isn't important for now, but just for future, really put yourself out there, because you'll be so shocked how amazing and how well you can do it. I would really recommend doing it. Like, please never count yourself out with things like that.
And I saw a question in the Q&A talking about what if you feel like you're new to the journal or you don't really know what's going on there. No one does. Like everyone, like people who worked, as paralegal like me, people who are law students, like everyone is presented with this information at the same time during the year. And, you will be able to consult your student SBA mentors to, either they'll be on a journal and they'll tell you about it, or they will connect you with someone who's on one. And there are so many resources to ask questions and get a better idea of how law school works during the year. And Kevin talked a little bit about the SBA mentors, but mine was incredible. He was very involved in the school and really just helped me get acquainted with everything. So shout out to Jerry.
Thank you. Yeah. And just, as a perfect transition, I know you mentioned the difference between moot court and trial team. So we'll tee this one up perfectly. If the two other panelists could describe the difference between moot court and trial team and just the process for getting on either of these extracurricular activities.
Awesome. Eddie and I can tag team this one. So for litigation, there are two major student organizations on campus, Trial Team and Moot Court. Trial Team is basically the beginning process of litigation. If you get sued or you're facing a criminal penalty, you'll go in front of the judge, and it's very theatrical. It's what you see on TV. And you basically argue a case in front of a jury or a judge. And then a decision is made. And from there, typically, a case can be appealed. So what you see on the Supreme Court, those cases aren't typically first heard in front of the Supreme Court. They're heard at a lower court. And when things are appealed, it will go up to basically the next notch of judges. And the first notch is basically what Trial Team does. It argues a lot on the facts of a case. And then they kind of kick it over to Moot Court. And Moot Court focuses on appellate advocacy. And unlike Trial Team, where it's just strictly oral advocacy, Moot Court incorporates a brief, which is a written explanation to a judge as to why they should side with your case. And then also after that, there's an oral argument. So Eddie and I, in our competitions, we'll get into that a little bit more specifically later, but we'll go in front of typically a panel of 3 judges, and we'll argue for 15 minutes while the judge is interrupting us and asking us questions. And then after that, the judge will make a decision. But Moot Court on campus is an organization of 30 people, primarily 2Ls and 3Ls. We typically take individuals from the summer after their first year. However, Eddie can speak to this. He came onto the board the summer after his second year. So for me, I had 2 full years on the board. I was a general board member, and then this past year, I've been chairperson of the Moot Court board. And I hope that clears up the distinction between trial team and Moot Court board. But moving to specifically the process of getting on Moot Court board, we hold a summer competition. And during the summer competition, we basically mock what you will be doing for real competitions once you join the board. So you'll have a brief component and then an oral advocacy component. You'll go in front of your peers over the summer and argue before them. And we have a selection committee that grades your brief and your oral argument in its entirety. And then we will select a number of individuals to come on the board from the summer competition. And then the second way to get on to the Moot Court board is this weird thing called Remels. And me, myself, I had no idea what Remel was, who Remel was, what the heck that was until basically 2 days before I tried out for Moot Court. But Remels is an internal competition that the law school hosts for primarily 2L students to compete against one another in a Moot Court competition. And we typically will take a few students. We took 5 this year from the Moot Court competition internally to join the board. So they'll have a year and a half in its totality to be with the organization until graduation. So overall, there's 2 avenues to get onto the board. From there, once you are a board member, your 2 primary tasks on the board is to compete in external competitions and also to coach other board members in their competitions. So when you yourself are competing, we travel around the country competing against other schools nationally. And to note, we do very, very well. Eddie can attest to that. And it's a really, really exciting experience to try and learn new areas of the law. For example, I went to an environmental and sustainability competition this year, and I've never even touched that topic of law, so it was very interesting for me. But meeting students and future colleagues around the country is very, very exciting. And then the coaching component basically encompasses you supporting a group of other partners as they compete for competitions. You're helping them fine-tune their advocacy skills, helping practice being a judge before them. For example, the group that I'm coaching, we have a practice after this, and we have a federal judge that's coming to help my individuals practice their issues about sentencing, and that's his specialty. So that kind of moves me into another facet of this is, as we have already discussed, Moot Court and journals is amazing for your resume, but it also is really helpful in building relationships with the greater community, whether that's nationally or in Philadelphia, as well as in Villanova alumni that might potentially hire you. So we, as an organization, are very, very close-knit. Everyone's very supportive of one another, which is hard because law school is very stressful, and you want to make sure that you find a support system that will allow it to be a little less painful. And I'll kick it to Eddie from there.
So I'll echo a lot of what Allie just said. I find Moot Court to be just one of the most fun experiences of law school by far. As she kind of outlined the difference between trial and the appellant level situation. But I will just comment a few things. it's really just a great opportunity to learn how to be persuasive in your writing, as well as being persuasive and just talking to another person, and really laying out your argument and really just building that logical steps of outlining your argument and just being very clear to someone with what you're trying to gain out of the judgment. So that skill will transition to everything you do after law school. And again, what kind of Ali said, it's a great camaraderie. It's a team. You're teamed up with a partner. And it's a great learning skill to have, to work with someone who might not have the exact same style of working or writing style or advocacy style, but you get to like build on that relationship. My partner and I, we had so much fun with our competitions. We became like close friends, and I know I'll be working or hopefully working with her in the future in New York. So it's been just a great experience, and I can't recommend it enough. And I will also echo, it's a great way to help you secure a job, maybe with a judge, as I'm doing post-graduation, or with the alumni network of Moot Court itself. And so it's just, and so when the internal competition that we do in the fall, the REMOS thing, a lot of those judges come back that are all alumni, and they grill us really hard with questions, and it's a lot of fun. It's scary at times, but like it really builds character, and it's a great experience. So that's all I had to add.
Yeah, thank you both. There are a few questions that kind of overlap in the chat, and I'll definitely tee them up right now. Mainly being the time commitment in relation to different groups you're in. How many of the groups are you part of? Do you feel like you're in too many groups? And just kind of like the time commitment overall. I know for myself in particular, I've been on SBA all 3 years. We meet once a week, usually during the lunchtime, to kind of like discuss different things going on, meet with all the different roles in the office. And then the deans, like I said before, we meet once a month. At times it does feel like I sign up for too many things, but it's one of those things where this is temporary. It's just 3 years. So if I can sign up and help other students, or be on panels such as this and talk to prospective students and students who are on the way, I feel like it's the least I could do during my time here to pay it forward, because once I leave, the information does nothing for me. It's pointless. So if I can pay it forward and, forward the information to someone else, it's the best possible avenue. But that's my answer. I will tee up to anyone else on the panel who wants to discuss as far as other groups you're part of, how many you're part of, if you're part of any other ones, and do you sometimes feel overwhelmed or like you've done too much?
Sure. I can
say yes, but
yeah. So I'm, I talked a lot about the law review. The other group that I'm majorly a part of is the Entertainment and Media Law Society, of which I'm the president. So I would say that, your involvement in the community and these student groups is really on an individual level. It's really about how much you want to put into it. By no means do you have to, like, if you're a member of the the Student Mental Health Society, or, an affinity group, or, the IP Law Society, if you're just a general member, you can go to their events and, receive their emails, and it's really not a time commitment at all. Like, it's like they have events like once or twice a semester. They have some really interesting speakers come in. You get to meet those. If you want to run for some sort of leadership position, there are 1L representatives for a lot of the groups where, you got to meet with the executive board of, the president, treasurer, secretary, alumni relations people, like the people that are running the club, and you get like a better sense of how that group works, and you can therefore, maybe lead it in the future. I think that that's maybe a larger time commitment. I can speak to kind of like I don't really demand a whole lot of time out of the reps for my club, but I personally put a lot of time into it. But it's really centers around the events. Like it's not like the academic groups like Moot Court and the journals, like those are kind of round the clock things. You've got like big projects to work on. You've got hours that you need to put in every week for them, whether it's researching your case note topic or, preparing your appellate brief. But the smaller groups, some of them are focused on fun. Like I put on the Entertainment Media Law Society put on a big open mic night event where we just had, it was pretty much a talent show. We had all sorts of people come and, sing and tell jokes and, read poetry and just have a good time. Like, not every single event is going to be a hard networking thing where you have to show up in your nice clothes and meet lots of professionals, or sit in a room and have someone, who works in, the government sector of the area that you're interested in talk to you for an hour. There are a lot of really cool events that get put on, and you don't necessarily need to be a member of those groups to go to those events. Almost all events at the law school are open to all students. So, it's really about, you see something on the Instagram, you see something on the SBA newsletter that comes out every week. You can just show up to that event and, learn something new, meet some new people, have a good time. So it's really as much time as you can manage to fit into it, or how much you want to dedicate to it. I think it's really awesome how the community is so close here that everyone, I don't know, I've never felt unwelcome at any event, regardless of who's hosting it. And also you just have the latitude to, you see an area of the law or an area of interest that doesn't have a group, like you can chart your own path and do it yourself. Like I can speak from experience. The Entertainment and Media Law Society, my 1L year, didn't do anything. They didn't send any emails. They didn't host any events. I wanted to get involved in it because I'm interested in entertainment law. And, I think I'm very, not to toot my own horn or brag, but I'm really happy with, how much latitude I've had to kind of make it the organization that I want, and, try to bring some entertainment to everyone's lives at the law school.
Yeah, going off of that, I'll give you more of a 1L perspective, and I think it kind of helps. I'll just say, like, firsthand, I'm sure all of you are probably listening to a lot of these terms and are like, what's an appellate court? What's a judge's job? And why am I talking to him in an oral argument? Like, all of those things, I remember being on this call during this time and being so confused. So I know there were some comments or questions like, what happens when you're confused? Like, is there going to be more information on it? I say take everything today with a grain of salt, in the fact that law school, you're just continuously learning. There's a whole bunch of legal jargon, a whole bunch of things that you don't know, and that's okay. So as a 1L, to answer the question, like organizations, your time commitment, like he has stated, like it's what you make of it. So I know there was a question of, is there an expo? When you enter your 1L year, there's going to be an expo with all the organizations, and they'll table and they'll talk to you about what they're about. And then you kind of get to decide what you think you're going to be interested in. You sign up for the email list, and then you basically just attend as you please. So that's kind of what a general member is I attend what I please. I'm a general member of BALSA, but I think I go to every event because I genuinely enjoy what they host. I love the Mental Health Society events. They do a lot of like, kind of just bringing it back to you. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? How do you, there was one like, how do you deal with burnout? That's just an event I feel related to, so I attend. And that's really always, majority of the time, going to happen at lunch. And there's usually always free food, which is always a plus. So that was really great. And then for a 1L representative, you get to decide if there's an organization that you kind of want to take a one step forward. You don't want an e-board position, but you want to be involved. That's kind of my role with LALSA. Honestly, I just go to e-board meetings. I'm actually running my first event in the next 2 weeks. And that depends on like the board, but it gives you a little bit of leeway to kind of start seeing what it's like to be an e-board member without having the full responsibility of an e-board member. The biggest advice that I was given as a 1L is really focus on your grades, really focus on your academics, because that's kind of just the stage you're in. Once you go into 2L, that's kind of the activity part, as you can kind of hear from everybody else. And then 3L, you can really like set stone into these e-board positions and start running organizations, like Ryan said, to kind of change it into something that you wished it was your 1L year. If that gives you an idea of the progression of what it's like to get involved on campus.
And I think also there are different organizations that have completely different time commitments. I can never talk about honor board without sounding so nerdy, but I am, it's so embarrassing. So I'm vice chair of the honor board. We basically proctor the law school exams, and we conduct the course evaluations so that professors know Oh, so embarrassing. So the professors know what their, strengths, weaknesses to implement for the next semester. There is absolutely no commitment apart from exam time. We sit there, and while everyone's taking their exams, we walk around the room and we just make sure no one's cheating. Like I said, there's no way to make it sound cool. I actually ran for that position again, which shows my there's you can run for SBA and you can run for honor board. As you can tell, Kevin is miles ahead of me on the cool spectre because he's on SBA. But different organizations just require different time commitments, and you just have to balance those between, 1L, really just focus on those grades and you can't do everything. Like, you wish you could be a member of this and that and a 1L rep for 7 different organizations. Like, pick a couple that you are like really passionate about to be on the e-board for, or like 1L rep, and just make sure that you don't wear yourself out, because it really isn't worth it, just having that one extra line on your resume to say you were 1L rep for 7 different orgs. Like, no one's expecting that. But there is just think about your level, like the level of commitment you want and the level of commitment that the org requires, and go from there. There's so many to pick from.
I want to make sure we get to other questions, but I just echo what everyone says. It's definitely what you make of it. But at the end of the day, you want to start your law school experience on a really strong foot, and to give you options for employment, it's definitely really important to focus on grades. So just take care of yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as well. And Allie is the head of Moot Court Board, and she's very pro mental health. And we do sessions where we talk about burnout. We do all these things. So these organizations are aware of that, and they're led by great students that are making sure that their members are getting the support they need. So yeah, just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, and you, Ali, you mentioned as far as like career opportunities, and we'll just kind of pivot really quickly. So one of the questions that I have is, in going to law school in the suburbs and being in Villanova as opposed to in the downtown Philadelphia area, has anyone found it difficult to pursue opportunities in Center City or the greater Philadelphia area, New York, Jersey, DC? Is it prohibitive that you're in the suburbs and not quite downtown in Philadelphia?
I could start. No. I think there weren't a lot of good things to come out of the pandemic, but one of the really good things is like Zoom interviews are so much more common. Like, I interviewed at a couple firms in New York, trying to find internships for my 1L summer. I worked for a federal judge at the Camden County Courthouse in Camden, which is on the other side of the city. I'm going to be working with Phoebe and Ashley at a firm in downtown Philly. There's a very strong, like, Villanova may not be a Philadelphia school proper, as in, within the city limits, but it's 100% in the Philadelphia legal market. They also have a pretty strong presence in, New York firms. Obviously, it's going to be like a similar experience as if you went to, another school in Philly in relation to New York. But I have friends that worked in California. I have friends that are going to be working in Florida. I have friends, that, go to Delaware. Like, I say that the reach is long of, the opportunities. There's lots of them all over the place. I don't think that the suburbs limits us in any way. Plus, we're connected on the main line train system. So it's really just like a 10-minute ride into the city. Also really not that far to drive if you're not in rush hour.
Yeah, I'll echo that. It also was a big concern of mine. For someone who doesn't exactly know where they want to end up after law school, I wanted to make sure I went to a place where the name can go far. And just a few examples, like I got an offer to work at Apple in California. I got an offer to work for Pepsi in Fort Worth in Texas. Those were just like a little few examples of how far reached Villanova's name was. And I also want to just echo it anywhere you go, but majority of the time when you're networking, honestly, I believe that if you can network, anything is possible. So especially when you're picking a law school, don't just say it's like the law school's job to, you know, obviously like set you in that place. It's put me in such a great position that adding networking to it has honestly allowed me to have limitless opportunities. So that was a big factor into a lot of decision-making aspects. So if you're worried about how far it can reach, it does go very far. And I'm sure all of you are great networkers. So if you can just, wherever you want to go, I would say reach out to an alumna, which is what I did, and kind of see where else you can navigate towards.
Yeah, I was going to just comment on or echo a lot of that as well. I'll be going to the New York area after school, and there's just a vast amount of alumni in that area doing the exact type of work that I want to be doing, and I've connected with them already, and they've just like helped me out with what their process was like, and setting me up with just like informational interviewing and stuff like that. And originally similar to Ashley, I didn't know what I wanted to do post law school. I was living in DC, had been working there for about 4.5 years, didn't know where to go, was really thinking of staying there. But Villanova drew me. One of the main reasons, they were open. We were in person for all of the pandemic. So really props to them. They really did a great job with doing that. And it was such a great impact on my law school experience, especially for 1L. So having said all that, I just think that Villanova's name does go really far, and it's a really great brand and university. And there's so many people you can connect with. And again, you got to be proactive, but like it's still like there's a lot of tools there.
Cool. And just, again, to pivot towards one of the Q&A questions we have in the chat, I think this is a really good one, actually. So the question was posed by Jazz, and she says, can you speak more about finding your people at Villanova Law, especially if you're not going to law school directly from undergrad? I think that is something that's huge, and I would definitely appreciate the panelists could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so I can speak to this one. Obviously, I came across for law school and I was really focused on I really knew that these next 3 years were going to be some of the most challenging years of my life and would ultimately dictate whether I, stay in the United States or just, go back home to England. And I came in and I was like, you know what, I think I just need to focus on myself. I'm the only one that can, steer the ship for me. I don't want to rely on anyone. I just want to do it on my own. And that lasted like a day. I met my best friend during orientation. We were in the same section. She came up to me, my roommate, with like an onion ring, and was just like, hey, like we're in the same section and now we're working at the same firm. So you spend like a ton of time with these people. And I think just having like a couple of really, really close friends who you can just like ride or die with, it's so easy to meet people at the school. My roommate, we met in the group me. We decided we would live together. Thank God we were in a different section, because oh my gosh, imagine living with someone and spending every day with them. Like, absolutely not. But it's great. Like, I have my friends at school who I see every day, and then I come home and we just, we sit and my roommate's actually been trying to make me watch the Reputation tour for 1.5 years now, because we just, anything to do with law school does not come through the apartment 506 door. So it's just really nice to have like your core group of friends in school, and then just people who you just don't need to talk about law school like, it's so nice and it's so easy to find people. Like, the school is amazing. You just meet friends in, you know, the organizations, in your section, in the networking events, in your summer jobs. There's just so many different ways that I wouldn't even worry, because no one knows anyone. Well, like, maybe you come from, you know, the same school from undergrad, but no one knows anyone. No one knows what they're doing. You're all just, it's like the blind leading the blind, and that's how you form like the strongest relationships. Like Kevin said, like, I'm his mentee. He hates me just as much as I hate him. I don't listen to anything he says, and then, you know, I go crying to him like, oh, I'm gonna fail, and then he sits there with this smug look on his face like, I told you wouldn't. And I tried to pass that down to Ashley, who's my mentee. She'll do the same, and then she'll come out with, you know, this amazing brief, and I'll be like, what were we even stressed about? So it's just really great. Just so many great relationships, and, you know, you don't need to know everyone. Like, you're not going to, like, really, you just need like your people, ride or dies, you know, and you will get through this experience, and you'll come out, oh my gosh, just looking back, like, oh, remember when we cried during 1L because we spent every single minute in the library on the back table in the second floor of the library, like we did 1L spring, which again, Kevin would always come up there and he'd be like, guys, have we slept? But no, the people are amazing, and you'll find them, they're there. Everyone's like just one big family, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, I want to echo that. I think that probably the single greatest mechanism that law school does for meeting new people is that it doesn't matter if you've come right out of undergrad. It doesn't matter if you've worked for, 2 years. It doesn't matter if you've done something like Kevin where you worked for 8. You get there on orientation and everyone is the same. You are all A1L. You are all taking the exact same classes. You will be put in a section with the same 60, 50, however many people it's going to be. And it's like elementary school. Like, you have every single class with the same people. You get to know them very intimately. And orientation is just like, you get there and everyone's just trying to, meet new friends. Everyone's trying to get to know one another. You will meet the most interesting, varied people, and then you will all go through the same hellish 1L experience. Where hellish is an exaggeration, but it's tough. No one, no matter what school you went to in undergrad or what job you had, is really going to prepare you for the rigor of 1L. Like, reading cases is something that you'll figure out and you'll get to know, but when everyone starts doing it, like I was in my orientation class with someone who I had worked as a paralegal. I knew a lot of general legal terms. There was one where they introduced the plaintiff and the defendant, and I knew what those terms meant. There is no shame in not knowing what those meant, but I was in class with someone who just didn't know what a lawsuit was. And like, that person is a great friend of mine. Like, and they got through law school just, 1L, just the same as I did, and I think that, the orientation process, setting you up with mentors, and just the fact that you're with the same people every day, you will find people that are your friends. I don't know anyone that doesn't have any friends at law school. Like, there are certainly people that have, like to get to know everyone. There are certain people that have like 1 or 2 people that they're really close with, but the community is so welcoming. Like, 2Ls and 3Ls, this isn't like high school or even college where someone's going to look down on you for being younger, because some 1Ls are older than me and I'm older than some 3Ls. So everyone's put on the same level and the same playing field, and it's like this amazing breeding ground for friendships.
Wow, you guys make it sound so lovely. I promise it's the truth, but yeah, that's great. And I'll just kind of just echo that again. It's really just about how you conduct yourself when you get here. I think people, for the most part, are open. They're not really closed off. They'll speak to you. But it's just a matter of getting yourself out there and not feeling weird about saying hi to people or checking in with them. I think Phoebe mentioned it as far as like the fact that when you get here, it's the blind leading the blind. You will undoubtedly meet people who swear they know what they're doing. They don't. Do not listen to them. I promise you, they don't know. And if they do know, they wouldn't be a 1L. So I just don't understand like why people do that when they get here. It's all a different perspective. Everyone kind of goes into it and figures it out on their own. Some people get it within a couple weeks. Some people get it the 3L year, me, and some people kind of figure it out as they go. But I think when you find your people and you find people who resonate with you, you stick close to them. It's kind of hard to figure out at first, but it's something that comes natural just through talking to people. I mean, like Ryan said, even as a paralegal, I was a paralegal for quite a few years before law school. It did nothing for my legal knowledge. I knew what I was doing, and now I'm figuring out why I was doing it. So it's just a different side of the coin. But I think, if anything, working before law school has helped me with my anxiety levels and realizing that this isn't real. It's 3 years. It'll be over before you know it. I told, I think, an incoming student before, they asked about how I handle with stress and dealing with anxiety at law school. And I'm like, well, when I did this at work, if I messed up, I got fired. If I mess up here, I have another assignment. So it's like, it's not as dire or serious as you think it is. There's always time to learn and grow. That's kind of the whole point of law school, is to learn and grow and figure it out as you go. And even as far as like figuring out my plans in the future, did I know what I was going to do when I got here? I thought I had an understanding of it, but you hone those understandings and those details as you go along through asking questions, attending panels, talking to people who are in the industries that you want to go into. And I know one of the questions in the chat was, how did I decide what type of summer internships to do after a 1L year? I didn't know. I just applied everywhere, and whoever offered me money is where I went. I think people approach it different ways. I don't think I got my 1L summer internship until about April, and that's late. But it's one of those things where everyone figures it out as you go. You can't compare yourself to other students and where they're going to go. So I kind of posed that to the chat. How did you know what summer internships to apply to? Did you apply everywhere like I did? Did you know what industries you wanted to focus on? Or are you just kind of figuring out as you go? I'll spare Ashley because she's going through it right now, but unless she wants to answer, it's up to you guys, but I'll pose it to the panelists.
I can start. So your first year responsibility is really just figuring out what you care about, what strives passion within you. And to be honest, I still don't know at the end of my 1L year. And I used that information to decide what I wanted to do. And for me, that was working for a judge, which I could be open to varying different legal matters that might, tell me, hey, you're a little more passionate about this than you are about this. So I kind of used that feeling to land within that position. And once working with the judge, I realized that litigation is really what I wanted to do. And then that helped me inform my class decisions from that point on. And then what I wanted to ultimately do my second summer, which is a little bit more important for jobs and your careers, especially if you want to work in a firm. But take the first year and first summer to just relax and enjoy the ride, and don't overstress about not knowing what you want to do with your life. There's always going to be people around you in every setting that says like, oh, do you have a job yet? Do you know exactly what you want to do? No matter where you go and the environment in which you're in, there's bound to be one person at least that's like that. All you have to do is tune them out. I know that's harder said than done, but focus on yourself. Just put the blinders on. And if something interests you for the summer, apply. There's never a wrong decision to make.
I'll let Eddie go. Eddie, you go.
Okay. Again, to echo what Ali said, I think it is a very big challenge not to compare yourself with someone else. That's just inherent. But the more you learn how to do that, and the more you try to just be like, this is my lane, this is my interest, this is what I want to do, the better it will be in the long run. I didn't know what I wanted to do 1L, and probably part of 2L a little bit. and I let that kind of seep in, like, oh, I need to go to the big firm. I need to do this. I need to do that. But then I was like, no, the reason why I went to school is I wanted to go to the government. I want to do public service work. And that's why I want to be going back to a state or going to a clerkship, and then eventually hopefully go to a DA's office and be in the courtroom, because I want to be in the courtroom. I want to be advocating for others and for the public. So that's what I want to do. And that was always there, but I kind of allowed that to get mixed in with other feelings. And it was a learning experience, but in the end, I'm so glad I figured it all out by the end. But like, you just need to make sure that you're staying with what your passions and why you chose to go to law school. And you may not know exactly why, or like what you want to do with the degree, but there's a reason why you're going to school. So just make sure you have that with you.
Eddie and Allie, I think, have a lot more insight on like choosing values and, you know, your experiences. I got really great advice from my faculty advisor about 1L jobs. And she said that there were like 5 things. It could be in a place that you want to be. It can be in an area of law that you want to work at. It can pay you. It can, you know, it can be prestigious. Hold on. Sorry. It can be prestigious, or it can I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm in a car that you know what? Either way, there are a lot of factors, and your first year law experience, first year summer is not going to have all of them. It's just not. So really, like, prioritize, you know, if you're someone that needs to make money. I'm sorry, guys. I have to run. But either way, like, follow your heart. It'll be good. All right. Yeah.
Just really quickly going off what Ryan said. Don't let people never doubt your dreams. Don't listen to people. I came in with one goal during 1L. It was to work at one firm. And I told myself, I was like, I'm working at this firm. I'm working at this firm. And so many people told me, Phoebe, I don't think you're getting there. Like, you need to have these certain grades. You need to, like, know some people. Like, I don't think it's happening. And again, Kevin had a lot of the tears. I was like, Kevin, I don't know if I'm making it. And I applied. I didn't listen to anyone. And I got the job. And I just think I'm going back there for my 2L summer. And there are so many times over the summer I sat there and I thought, oh my God, if I'd have just listened to that one person who told me I need a backup plan, or that one person who told me, like, it's not going to happen, I would not be here right now. I would, you know, I don't know what I would have been doing, because I was adamant. I was like, if I'm not working here, I'm not working anywhere, which was probably not the best strategy. To go by. You know, I put all my eggs in one basket, but it paid off. And just, if you have a goal, like, just don't forget it, like, really work towards it, and you'll be so surprised what you can do when you just believe in yourself. Kevin actually has a ton of motivational quotes when he emails, which again probably is the reason why I had to carry on doing what I was doing, because otherwise he'd send me a motivational quote of the day. So, and I really didn't need that after the 6th one. So just, you know, follow your dreams and trust in yourself. And you guys know so much more than you think you do. And it'll all pay off. You'll get to where you need to be.
That's it. So we'll end it at the part of a 1L who just ended her traumatic experience of applying to jobs. My approach was apply to everything. I think that was the biggest advice that I had. Like Phoebe said, when you come to law school, a lot of people will try to tell you what you're supposed to do, what's the model way to do it. And frankly, it's just not true. And I'm a testament to that in regards to grades or whatever somebody may tell me that I was supposed to have. I applied to everything and anything. And in that daunting experience of like, oh my God, I'm not going to get a job, I ended up getting all the responses at one time. And I think I needed that period of time of just believing in myself to really look back at it and be like, wow, that was worth it. So to answer your question, coming into 1L year, you do not need to know what you want to do. I thought I knew what I wanted to do because of my background. And as I progress every single day, I learn a different area of law. I learn something new that someone's doing. And honestly, sometimes my interests, like I'm doing a brief right now, maybe litigation is not for me. But you just learn through different areas of what you're going through in law school. So I hope you guys learned at least that today. And like everyone else said, if you would like to reach out personally to me for any other questions in regards to what it's like to come in, by all means, please do so.
Yes, and once again, thank you to all the panelists. I know we had a couple drop off, but we do appreciate your time and your patience and for answering all the questions you guys posed to us. One last final push to reach out to us via LinkedIn or otherwise. If you have any follow-up questions, concerns, issues, positive quotes or not, reach out to us and send us an email. Thank you so much and look forward to hearing from you soon.